Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Just give me 1 minute, huh? Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hello. So at least one batch is interested and paying attention. Now, today I decided that, before we do the questions on yes, Shashank.
सर yesterday जो हम लोग ने क्वेश्चन किया था ना थॉमस के ऊपर सर उसमें BADR क्लेम करने के लिए द इन्वेस्टर मस्ट हैव मतलब एम्प्लॉय होना चाहिए राइट बट AIS शेयर में एम्प्लॉय
Which is why we are doing it today, ना?
वो एक्चुअली कल वाला क्वेश्चन किया था तो थोड़ा डाउट निकल गया।
हाँ, वो आज कवर शेयर इंसेंटिव स्कीम में कवर करूंगा ना, थोड़ा पेशेंस।
ओके सर।
So there is one topic in employment income which is basically share incentive schemes. These are basically schemes that are in the form of employee stock options. You know what we studied in SBR, IFRS 2. So IFRS 2 वाला जो पूरा discussion है, where the company gives the employees the right to subscribe to shares at a substantially reduced price, in which is basically some sort of an incentive, because see, not in all cases the company might not have enough cash to compensate the employees. So in order to keep the employees engaged, in order to make sure that the employees are invested in the company and they stay with the company for long term, the company offers a share incentive plan, which is usually in the form of employee stock options. अब इसमें There are some very specific rules under the UK tax regime. Let's see what these rules are. So, governments, so basically what they are doing is say companies also get a way to attract talent, which they might not be able to afford otherwise, because maybe the cash expectations cannot be matched, but at the same time, there is a desire to keep these experienced employees in the organization. The company will often give them a share incentive or a share option. A share option is an offer to an employee or a right to purchase shares at a future date at a predetermined fixed price at the time the offer is made. So what happens is, when employee share options or employee stock options are granted, the employees get the right to purchase or the right to subscribe to the shares of the company at a predetermined price. That predetermined price would be, say, 30 rupees per share, and the market value could be anything. So from the employee's point of view, this is a taxable benefit in his hands. Is something that is available in the market for 100 rupees, he can get that for 30 rupees. So basically the difference of 70 is his employment income. And for the company, think of this as an expense of sorts or a loss of sorts. If you would have raised money from the open market, you would have gotten 100 rupees per share. But when you are you are raising money from the open market, you would have received 100 rupees. But because you allocated the share to an employee and अपने employee से पैसा raise किया, ठीक है, you allocated the share to an employee and अपने employee से पैसा raise किया, how much did you get? You got 30 rupees. So you suffered a loss of 70. You lost out on an opportunity to earn 70 rupees. ठीक है. Now, there are two types of schemes here. One is a tax advantaged or an approved scheme. So basically you have the approval of the government for that. Then government as an HMRC and tax related authorities, or otherwise, you could have those schemes which don't meet the approval of the HMRC. Okay. So, the whole process. How many of you have done SBR? So grant, exercise and all of that, right? Baki others, you haven't done SBR, Abhi tak? Daksh hasn't done, I know that. Spurti, you must have done SBR.
No, sir. AFM was my first.
Abhi SBR is left for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, see, when the employee gives this offer so when the company gives this offer to the employees, it is called grant of an option. Okay. And usually the employee has to fulfill some sort of a service condition or some other condition before he can become eligible to subscribe to these shares. What kind of condition could these be? This could be a condition which says you have to be an employee of the company for 2 years, and only when you are after completing 2 years with the company, after completing 2 years with the company, you will get an option to subscribe to the shares of the company at a reduced price. Or it could be some other condition ki yaar company ka when the turnover crosses 100 crores, at that time you will get the option to subscribe to the shares of the company at a price of 30 rupees. So ye jo time period hai, that time period is known as vesting period. So let's say Satyamit has to work with the company for 2 years before he becomes eligible to exercise the options. So this 2-year ka jo gap hai, that is known as vesting period. The date on which he exercises the option is called as the exercise date. Okay. Now, in this case, on granting of an option, there is no tax. When the company gives an option or company gives this piece of paper to the employee telling him ki, 1 year from now you will get an option to subscribe to the shares of the company at a fixed price of 30 rupees per share, that is granting of an option. Uspe there is no tax implication. If there is exercise of the option means employee will pay 30 rupees and will purchase the share of the company which is available in the market at say 100 rupees. So If it is an unapproved scheme, so at the time of exercise of the option, income tax charges market value at exercise rate minus cost of option minus cost of shares. This will give you your employment income. NIC charge if shares are readily convertible into cash. So class one employee contribution and employer contribution will apply where the shares are quoted. Okay. Shares are quoted means shares are listed on the stock exchange. Okay. Shares are listed on the stock exchange, and at that time, when the shares are listed on the stock exchange, that means they are liquid. They can be easily converted into cash. So class 1 NIC contribution will apply. And when these shares are sold, capital gain is sale proceeds minus market value at exercise rate. This gives you capital gain. Okay. BADR will be available if the company is a trading company. The employee owns greater than 5% interest in the ordinary share capital of the company, and the employee has owned the shares for at least 2 years. Okay. BADR to chalo apply hoga, that is a separate discussion altogether. But if it is a non-tax advantage scheme, that is unapproved scheme, capital gain is sale proceeds minus market value at exercise rate, which you had taken here. That gives you the capital gain. Okay. If the scheme is an approved scheme, that is, it meets the criteria laid down by HMRC, so no tax on granting of option, no tax on exercise of option, only capital gain at the time of disposal. Sale proceeds minus cost of option minus cost of shares. Okay. Sale proceeds minus cost of option minus cost of shares. That is the total amount of capital gain. ठीक है, यहाँ पे no employment income, as in no tax will arise at the time of exercise of the option. At the time of disposal of shares, there will be a capital gain. Okay. And if these shares are EMIs, there are 4 schemes that we are going to study. If the shares are a part of EMI scheme, then there is no requirement to have greater than 5% holding. For BADR, I think one of the conditions that we need to keep in mind is that the shares should this person should have a holding of 5% or more in the company. If these are EMI shares under the EMI scheme, there is no requirement to have a greater than 5% shareholding, and the 2-year ownership period can be counted from the date the option was granted. ठीक है. एक बार ना, I want you to write this in your notebook. Tax advantaged and non-tax advantaged.
Yes, sir.
लिख लिया सबने?
No, sir, 1 more minute.
Take your time. लिख लिया?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Alan is employed by Sugar Limited, a trading company. On 1 July 2018, he was granted the option to buy 1,000 shares in Sugar Limited for £2, their market value at that time. He exercises the option on 17th October 22 when the shares are worth $4.5. On 20th October 2002, he sells them for $5 each. The shareholding represents a less than 5% interest in the company. Explain the tax implications for Alan of the above events, assuming the scheme is tax advantaged and non-tax advantaged. If it is tax advantaged, then no tax on granting of options, no tax on exercise of options, and no tax on exercise of options. Third thing is that if the shares are sold at the time of sale or disposal of shares, then there will be a capital gain. कितने का होगा capital gain? Disposal proceeds minus a cost of option minus cost of shares. ठीक है? Sale proceeds minus cost of option minus cost of shares. Sale proceeds कितना है? £5 each. Do you have cost of options here?
Sir.
है? Cost of option and cost of share are two different things. 2 rupees is the cost of share. It's not the cost of option. है ना? He will pay 2 rupees to purchase the share. So 2 rupees is cost of option. Sorry, not cost of option. It is cost of shares. So 5 minus 2 is a gain of 3. ठीक है? Now, if the scheme is not tax advantaged, तो 2 बार tax लगेगा. One at the time of exercise of option, another at the time of sale of shares. At the time of exercise of option, what is the market value? Market value of the share is 4.5. What is the cost of option? 0. What is the cost of shares? 2. तो employment income कितना होगा? 2.5. ठीक है? At the time of disposal of shares, sale proceeds है 5. ठीक है? If you are talking about a non-tax advantage scheme, capital gain is sale proceeds minus market value at exercise date. Market value at exercise date was 4.5. Sale proceeds are 5. Capital gain will be 5 minus 4.5. That is 0.5. ठीक है? This is how a tax advantaged scheme and a non-tax advantaged scheme will work. ठीक है? Have a look at both.
सर ये जो कॉस्ट ऑफ ऑप्शन है वो दिया हुआ रहेगा क्या क्वेश्चन में? अगर
तो it will be given. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Now there are 4 types of schemes that we'll be looking at. Savings related share option save as you earn scheme, company share option plan CSOP, enterprise management scheme EMI, and share incentive plan SIP. ठीक है? What is this save as you earn scheme? This is a favorable tax treatment for share option schemes that are linked to save as you earn. Now, how does it work? The employees pay a maximum of £500 per month into a save as you earn scheme for a period of 3 years. Interest on the scheme is tax exempt. At the end of the scheme, the money can be used to exercise the share options, or the employee may just withdraw the money for personal use. As a tax advantage scheme, no tax will be charged on the grant or exercise of the option. On the subsequent disposal of the shares, a capital gain may arise. So what they are saying is employees will have to deposit money in it's like a fund. Okay, it's like a box in which you are depositing money each month or each year. 500 per month आप उसमें डाल रहे हो. You can do that for a period of 3 or 5 years. See, naturally, because you are depositing money, excuse me, the company or the fund manager will not let that money get, matlab aise it will, the money will not remain idle na. He will take that money and he will invest that in different different schemes on which he will earn interest. That interest will again be passed on to the depositors, but that interest will be exempt from income tax. At the end of the scheme, the money can be used to exercise the share options, or the employees may withdraw the money for personal use. Okay. And at the time of exercise of the option, no tax implication. When the shares are sold, capital gain. What are the conditions for the SAYE scheme? All employees must be able to participate in the scheme on similar terms. Although it is acceptable to exclude employees who have worked for the company for less than a qualifying period, as long as the period chosen does not exceed 5 years. Okay. Some employee, basically this is given to all employees. Some employees could be excluded if they have worked with the company for a shorter period. Okay. The purchase price of the shares is usually met by the employees out of the SAYE accumulated savings. So basically what is happening here is that the money is getting deposited in this accumulated savings account. Okay. Wahan se you are taking that money and you are using that money to the employee is using that money to subscribe to the shares of the company. Okay. The price at which options are offered is not less than 80% of the market value of shares when the option was granted. The price at which options are offered is not less than 80% of the market value of the share when the option was granted. Say market value was 10, exercise price has to be 8 or more. The cost of setting up a scheme are allowed as a trading expense for the company. Okay. So that can be deducted while you are calculating the trading income company ke liye. The cost of setting up the scheme, matlab documentation ka cost, lawyer ka cost, and all of that. Okay. So these are the conditions for a save as you earn scheme which need to be fulfilled. Okay. Ek baar have a look. See, this is a tax advantage scheme. So no tax is levied at the time of exercise. Tax is levied at the time of disposal. Okay. Isko padhiye ek baar. ठीक है. Now, what is CSOP? This type of tax advantage share option scheme differs from the SAYE schemes described above in the sense that the aggregate value of options granted is potentially much higher. The company has much greater discretion in allocating options to employees. Basically, SAYE ka one of the conditions was that it should be granted to everyone. I mean, you could fix a criteria कि यार अगर 5 साल से कम होगा 5 साल से ज्यादा होगा तो employee will be eligible or will not be eligible. All of that is fine. The company could have that discretion, but once you say कि यार all employees with a tenure of more than 3 years have to be included and all employees with a tenure of less than 3 years have to be excluded, उसमें आप selective behavior नहीं कर सकते. But in case of CSOP, that discretion, that level of selective behavior is okay. ठीक है. How the scheme operates is the company grants the employee the right to buy shares at some time in the future at a price fixed at the time of grant of the option. ठीक है. Sometime later, the employee will pay the required amount and the shares are issued to the employee. ठीक है. As a tax advantage scheme, there is no income tax or NIC charge on the grant of the option. On the exercise of the option, there is no charge to tax. And on the disposal of scheme shares, CGT will be charged on any gain arising. ठीक है. Now, what are the conditions for CSOP? Eligible employees must be either full-time directors or full-time or part-time employees. Close company directors with a material interest of greater than 30% are ineligible. ठीक है. Or directors with an interest of greater than 30% are ineligible because they already have a higher stake in the company, so this will not be given to them. Subject to the above, the company has complete discretion as to the participants. The option must be exercised between 3 and 10 years of the grant. The price payable for the shares should not be less than the market value at the time of the grant. ठीक है. Option must be exercised between 3 and 10 years. So between the date of granting and the date of exercise, the time period has to be 3 to 10. The price payable for shares should not be less than the market value at the time of the grant. ठीक है. So price payable for shares should not be less than the market value of time of grant. Say market value on grant date was 10, exercise price has to be 10 or more. ठीक है. Market value at the time of grant was 10, so exercise price has to be 10 or more. Now there is 30,000 ka limit to the value of shares for which a participant may hold unexercised options at the time. Employees owning more than 30% of the company are ineligible, so accumulated amount ka value has to be 30,000 and not more. Yes, Samar?
Sir, 60.
Updated?
Yes, sir, updated 60,000.
Okay. One second. Okay. So the limit is 60,000. Unexercised options ka value maximum is 60,000. Employees owning more than 30% are ineligible. Again, cost of setting up the scheme is allowed as a trading expense. Participation need not be extended to all employees. तो यहाँ पे critical मतलब थोड़ा सा जो condition पे testing हो सकता है, that is this one. The price payable for the shares should not be less than the market value at the time of grant. Option must be exercised between 3 and 10 years. ठीक है. Full-time employees or full-time directors or full-time part-time employees दोनों चलेगा. And the maximum amount of unexercised options can be 60,000 pounds. Technically ना इस part पे कभी आज तक question पूछा नहीं गया है. No question has been tested on this part yet. ठीक है. Now, एक बार have a look.
scheme you mean? Or just that part?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, when you said no question, on the scheme or just the below part?
On that part, on that condition.
Please scroll.
Okay. The EMI scheme was slightly different. Okay. The EMI scheme was introduced to make sure that options are granted to selected employees in smaller companies. Okay. EMI schemes enable options worth up to £250,000 to be granted to employees. No income tax or NIC on the grant of option. No income tax or NIC on the exercise of the option if the option price at the time of grant was at least market value at that time. What this means is no income tax or NIC is charged on the grant of the option if the option price at the time of the grant was at least market value at that time. Okay. So there is a tax charge on exercise if exercise price is less than the market value. If market value is 10, exercise price is 8, amount subjected to tax will be $2. In the previous two schemes, this was not the case. Wahan pe very clearly, at the time of exercise of the options, there was no, very clearly, at the time of exercise of options, there was no tax that was levied. ठीक है? और उसमें कोई if condition नहीं था. यहाँ पे there is an if condition that if market value is 10 and exercise price is 8, ठीक है? Amount subjected to tax will be 10. Market value is 10, exercise price is 10 or more, then there will be no tax at the time of exercise. Okay. Then if the exercise price was granted at a discount, the charge is based on the difference between market value at the date of grant and the exercise price. Okay. If exercise price is less than the market value. The CGT base cost of the shares is the price paid plus discount, if any, that has been treated as income on exercise. Okay. CGT base cost of the shares is the price paid plus the discount that has been treated as CGT base cost. Okay. Price paid, which is 8, plus discount that has been treated as income on exercise. So when the exercise of share options happened, market value was 10, exercise price is 8, amount subjected to tax will be 2. यहाँ पे what they are saying is CGT के लिए base cost is price paid, which is 8, plus discount, which means market value on grant date. ठीक है. On sale of shares, the period for which the option is held can be counted as part of the 2-year ownership period for business asset disposal relief. ठीक है. So period of holding the option is also considered here. Now there is no limit on the number of employees who may benefit, although the total value of options granted by the entity may not exceed $3 million. Qualifying companies must have less than 250 employees. Okay. Then they've given you a whole lot of conditions that the company must be a qualifying trading company. Certain trades such as property development are excluded. अब ये सारे जो points है ना, अब these points are not really tested. अगर CA exam होता, तो they could have gone into like a lot of minute testing. Here, the one part that you need to remember about EMI schemes is that If the shares are taken under EMI scheme, then there may be an income tax charge on exercise if the options are at a discount to market value at grant. And for EMI schemes for BADR purpose, there is no requirement to hold greater than 5% holding. Okay. No requirement to hold greater than 5% holding, and the 2-year ownership period can be counted from the date the option was granted. Okay. So not from the date the shares were given to you, but the 2-year ownership period is counted from the date the options were granted. So 2-year minimum holding condition wala jo clause hai, that clause is still applicable. Okay. 2-year minimum holding period wala jo condition hai, that condition is still applicable. What is not applicable is the 5% holding. कि EMI scheme के लिए 5% holding का जरूरत नहीं है, and the period for holding the options was period for holding the options is also considered when you are talking about when you are talking about the BADR scheme. मतलब उसमें आप options का period सिर्फ once the options are exercised, then options are replaced by actual shares. तो shareholding का period साथ साथ में आप consider करो. Shareholding का period, you also consider the period for this thing, which is the period for holding the options. Okay. And last thing is SIP, that is share incentive plan. A share incentive plan is a scheme that allows employees to give shares to their employees and for the employees to buy further shares without an income tax charge. On disposal, CGT will apply to any profit made. A share incentive plan can involve the employees acquiring shares in 3 different ways. Okay. The employer may gift up to £3,600 shares to the employees each year. The amount received is usually dependent on the financial performance of the company. These are referred to as free shares. So, ऐसा नहीं है कि so what is happening is up to £3,600 value के shares the employer is giving to the employee. Free shares, gift दे रहा है. ठीक है. If the performance of the company is good, then shares will be granted like this. Then depending on the terms of the specific scheme, an employee may be allowed to buy up to 1,800 of partnership shares. The cost is deducted from the employee's pre-tax salary up to a maximum of 10% of salary. Okay. Depending on the terms of the specific scheme, employees may be allowed to buy also. So employer is giving you free shares. Employee is also allowed to buy an equivalent number of shares. So अगर इसने आपको share दिया, तो you can also, a second option could be employees could be allowed to buy shares of up to £1,800 of partnership shares. The cost is deducted from the employee's pre-tax salary. Okay. Then depending on the terms of the specific scheme, the employer may choose to issue further free shares on a 2:1 basis to the partnership shares. So if the employee buys 1,800 ka shares, the employer may issue a further 3,600 ka shares at no extra cost to the employee. These shares are referred to as matching shares. ठीक है. So एक हो सकता है कि यार एम्प्लॉयर ने आपको फ्री शेयर्स दे दिया 3,600 का. दूसरा ये हो सकता है कि you buy shares up to 1,800 in the company scheme at a lower price, या फिर you buy shares of 1,800 for example and the employer gives you shares of 3,600. So 2:1 के ratio में employer gives you shares. So you could have any of these schemes. These are called share incentive plans. Dividends paid on an employee's shares under the plan can be reinvested tax-free in further shares. There is no limit to the amount of dividend that can be reinvested in the SIP. Dividends paid on an employee's shares held under the plan can be reinvested tax-free in further shares. No limit to the amount of dividend. So, आपको dividend मिला, वो dividend से आपने और share खरीद लिया. ठीक है. So that will help to compound the number of shares that you are holding. ठीक है. Because it is a tax advantage scheme, no tax charge on grant, no tax charge on exercise of the option. Tax will be levied only on the final disposal of shares. ठीक है. Conditions for the SIP. The plan must be available to all employees of the company or a group company. The plan must have no arrangements for loans to employees. For the tax advantage, for free tax advantages, the plan must be held for at least 5 years. Okay. एक बार have a look. ठीक है, I'll
Yes, Jenny,
stop.
please scroll.
ठीक है, now चार में से एक स्कीम विल इज यूजुअली टेस्टेड इन एवरी अटेम्प्ट. ठीक है, you will get a 4 to 6 marks question on share incentive schemes in every attempt. So make sure that you have learned the contents of the share incentive scheme. EMI scheme पे questions are asked मतलब the most, because you know EMI scheme में we have this BADR related condition कि EMI scheme के लिए you don't need to hold on to the shares for that long, and 5% holding is also not compulsory. Because of that reason ना उस पे काफी बार पेपर में question आया है, CSOP पे भी आया है. So today we'll be doing one question on CSOP, then there will be another question on a share incentive scheme. जो तीनों चारों क्वेश्चंस हम आज करेंगे, तीनों चारों क्वेश्चंस में देयर इज अ शेयर इंसेंटिव स्कीम. द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट आई वांट टू डू विथ यू इज अ क्वेश्चन कॉल्ड Methley लिमिटेड, क्वेश्चन 24. आई वांट यू टू टेक 5 minutes, read the question carefully, and then we'll do it together. ठीक है, आई एम राइटिंग द नेम इन द चैट बॉक्स, Methley लिमिटेड. ठीक है, रीड द क्वेश्चन केयरफुली, उसके बाद we'll do it together. पढ़ लिया क्वेश्चन?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So quite an interesting one. Let me just open the Excel sheet. इसको करते हैं अभी. You should assume that today's date is 1st of April 26. Compare and contrast the tax implications of both the acquisition and disposal of the shares in Methley Limited if Simon acquires the shares through a tax-advantaged company share option, or alternatively as an award of shares. You are not required to comment on any national insurance contribution implications. Okay. Compare and contrast the tax implications of both acquisition and disposal of shares in Methley if Simon acquires the shares through a tax advantage CSOP. Okay. Now, you should assume that today's date is 1st of June. Your firm has been asked to provide advice to two unrelated clients, Methley Limited, a close company, and Homer. Advice is required in respect of provision of share incentive schemes to employee, provision of either a car or an interest-free loan, and personal service company rules. Methley Limited is a UK resident company which is a close company. इसका कुछ यूज होने वाला है आगे. Simon is a director of Methley and owns 20% of its ordinary shares. Methley Limited intends to provide Simon with shares worth 25,000 in the form of either free shares or share options. The free shares would be issued in June 2027. The share options would be issued under a tax-advantaged company share option scheme, CSOP, in June 2027, and Simon would exercise the option in October 2031. In either case, Simon will sell the shares in December 2033. Simon is a higher rate taxpayer. किसके केस में पूछा है? Simon के केस में पूछा है, right? हाँ. If Simon gets in the form of CSOP, तो क्या होगा? If Simon gets it in the form of share incentive, ठीक है, share incentive is slightly different. We'll study what that is. ठीक है, मतलब इसी में होगा discussion. See, acquisition of shares, if it is a CSOP, there will be no charge to income tax in respect of the grant or exercise of the option, given that Simon intends to exercise the option between 3 and 10 years after the date of the grant. अब ये क्या है, एक बार CSOP के conditions जो है, I'll copy paste those conditions and paste it here so that you can simultaneously cross verify. ठीक है, मैं CSOP के conditions यहाँ पे डालता हूँ. ठीक है, putting it here as a reference note. ठीक है, observe. Conditions for CSOP: eligible employees must be either full-time or full-time director or full-time part-time employee. He is a director, first condition fulfilled. Close company directors with a material interest of greater than 30% are ineligible. His interest right now is 20%, so he will be eligible. Option must be exercised between 3 and 10 years of grant. ठीक है, grant कब हुआ? Look at what is the grant date?
June 27.
June 27. Okay. Free shares would be issued. The share options would be free shares alag hai. Free shares is different and share options is different. Okay. They would be issued under a tax advantaged company share options plan in June 27, and Simon would exercise the options in October 31. June 27, 28, 29, 30, June 31. उसके बाद आता है अक्टूबर 31. ठीक है, जून 31 के बाद आता है अक्टूबर 31. So it is after 3 years but before 10 years, correct? तो ये वाला कंडीशन भी फुलफिल हो गया. ऑप्शन मस्ट बी एक्सरसाइज बिटवीन 3 and 10 years. द प्राइस पेएबल फॉर शेयर्स शुड नॉट बी लेस देन द मार्केट वैल्यू एट टाइम ऑफ ग्रांट. डू यू हैव मार्केट वैल्यू एट टाइम ऑफ ग्रांट एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट? नो, वो सब नहीं दिया है आपको, सो कैन नॉट इवैल्यूएट दैट कंडीशन. देन 60,000 limit to the value of shares for which a participant may hold unexercised options. है ना? यहाँ पे कुछ दिख रहा है आपको? Any information to that effect? नहीं है तो नहीं है, फिर you can't do anything. Now tell me, is he eligible for CSOP?
Yes, sir.
He is eligible for CSOP. So CSOP is a tax advantage scheme. Person is eligible for CSOP. So what you will have to do is you will have to say that no charge to income tax at the time of grant, no charge to income tax at the time of exercise of the option. ठीक है. Simon intends to exercise the option between 3 and 10 years. तो वो वाला condition मतलब fulfill हो रहा है. ठीक है. अब when the CSOP shares are disposed of, whenever that happens in the year 23-24, gain will be calculated by reference to, how will you calculate the gain? Disposal proceeds minus cost of option minus cost of shares. ठीक है. So part A. Now if Simon opts for CSOP, ठीक है. First of all, prove that he is eligible for CSOP benefit by writing the relevant conditions and showing or proving that the conditions are fulfilled. This will form an important part of the answer. Then talk about tax treatment at the time of grant and tax treatment at the time of disposal. ठीक है. At the time of grant and at the time of exercise होगा पहले. ठीक है. Since this is a tax advantaged scheme, no income tax at the time of grant and no income tax at the time of exercise of option. उसके बाद talk about the treatment on disposal. CGT will be sale proceeds minus cost of option minus cost of shares. ठीक है. ये इतना करके खत्म करो. Are you with me, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the second option? He was given free shares in June 2027. What happens if free shares are given to him? That will be treated like a taxable benefit from the employer. तो उस पे tax लगेगा. He check करो what kind of a taxpayer is he? He is a higher rate taxpayer ki basic rate taxpayer?
Higher rate.
Higher rate taxpayer है. ठीक है. Higher rate taxpayer है तो whatever is the value of free shares, that is your taxable benefit, उस पे 40% tax लगेगा. ठीक है. And at the time of disposal of shares, how will you calculate the capital gains? Capital gains will be disposal value minus market value at the date of, giving him that particular, which is 25,000 at the date of award, and any gains will be subject to CGT, losses will be allowable. ठीक है. So if Simon opts for free shares, then shares, or rather free shares given to Simon by his employer will be treated like, or will be treated matlab will be a taxable benefit for Simon. ठीक है. taxable benefit worth 25,000 and Simon is a higher rate taxpayer. So income tax will be 25,000 into 40%, which is 10,000. At the time of grant. Okay. And when shares are disposed of, there will be CGT implications. CGT will be levied on disposal value minus 25,000, which is market value at the time of ठीक है. This is, see, free shares मतलब उसको directly हाथ में share दे दिया. It's not as if he was given an option कि इसको subscribe करो फिर 2 साल रुको, नहीं, उसके हाथ में 25,000 का free shares रख दिया. So naturally it will be treated like a taxable benefit. उस पे tax आएगा, उस पे all of मतलब those same calculations will have to be done here. ठीक है? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. Now, second part. Prepare calculations to determine which of the two proposed benefits, the company car or the loan, will result in overall income tax cost for Chris. ठीक है. अब उसके पास दो ऑप्शन है. Chris is employed by Methley Limited and owns 10% of the ordinary shares, has been offered the sole use of a company car or alternatively a loan to enable him to purchase the same car himself. He receives a salary from the company of 60,000 and receives dividend of £500 each year. Company car है and loan वाला alternative है. ठीक है. Now the calculation that I want you to think about it. ठीक है. अगर कंपनी कार मिला तो what are the benefits? How do you calculate the amount of taxable benefit? वो आपको करना है. Then if it is a loan, तो फिर how will the taxable benefit be calculated? वो आपको consider करना है. ठीक है. So don't make the answer. Just think about. Open the sheet. Look at the provisions. ठीक है. Open the employment income वाला sheet. Company car and company loan दोनों check करो. And I want you to just go through the provisions. Okay. Then we'll discuss the provisions together. Quickly open it. Let's calculate the value of the car option. This is part B. Okay. So, provision of company car. Value of taxable benefit. What is it? It is list price of the car into appropriate percentage. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is a petrol car or a diesel car? Diesel car which
Diesel.
meets R2 standard. Diesel car which meets RDE2 standard. है ना? So, appropriate percentage. ये कैसे होगा? 17%, not 15. 17% प्लस. इस कार का CO2 एमिशन क्या है? CO2 एमिशन है 71 ग्राम. तो उसके नीचे, उसके take the multiple of 5 just before 71, which is 70 minus 55 upon 5. कितना होगा?
Total 20%.
कैप 37% का है, तो this is okay. So, annual benefit is 10,400 into 20%, which is how much? 2080? Correct? कोई owned for part of the year or full year क्या है? अब how did you take that 10,400? Methley purchased the car for 9600, which is 800 less than list price. 9600 is 800 less than list price. So list price will be 9600 plus 800, that is 10,400. The car would immediately be made available to Chris for private use. The car has CO2 emission of 71 gram per kilometer and is diesel powered. Chris would contribute 700 per year towards the private use of the car. Chris pays all of his diesel himself. He is contributing 700 per year towards private use of the car. ठीक है? तो क्या करेंगे यहाँ पे? Will it have to be reduced in some way कि no?
Sir, 6 months होगा शायद.
Ideally it should be for 6 months, है ना? So कैसे निकालेंगे बताओ?
$2080 divided by 2.
Okay.
इसका annual benefit.
ठीक है. अब contribution made by Chris is 700 per month. See, company purchased the car on 1st of October 2006. On what date was the car given to Chris? ऐसा कुछ date दिया है आपको?
Sir, immediately ना दिया हुआ.
The car would immediately be made available. मतलब 1st of October 2026. So October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. 6 महीना हो गया. ठीक है. With me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So taxable benefit is 2080 into 6 by 12 minus 700 per month into. यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? Methley, Chris would contribute 700 per year for the private use of car. So it's not per month. So it's just 700. ठीक है. बताइए तो कितना आता है? 1040 minus 700.
सर वो 350 होगा ना, पर ईयर दिया हुआ है तो ये 6 months का.
ओके, अब बताइए.
$690.
I am going with your number, huh? 1040 minus 350, 690. This is taxable benefit. Anything else? So how many years was this car given to Chris? This car was given to Chris for 3 years. Okay. So taxable benefit for 6 months of current tax year. Okay. And car was given to Chris for 3 years. So total taxable benefit for 3 years will be 2080 minus 700 into 3. बताना तो कितना आता है?
4140.
4140. उसके बाद Methley would give the car to Chris after 3 years when its market value is expected to be 6300. This is gift of asset which was already used by the employee, correct?
Yes sir.
उसका कितना आएगा बताओ? Value of benefit. Asset used by employee. Now gifted to him by employer. Value of taxable benefit is market value of asset on the date of gift, which is 6300. है ना? So total taxable benefit over a period of 3 years is 4140 for usage of car, 6300 for gift of car. Total बताइए, बोलो. 10,440, right? This is the taxable benefit over a period of 3 years. आगे ये तो एक हो गया ना. There's one more option. That company, Methley Limited, would provide Chris with an interest-free loan of 9600 on 1st of October 2026. Now, the loan value, है ना? क्या है loan value? 9600. Now, if you remember, in case of beneficial loans, the amount is considered as a taxable benefit only if the amount of loan is greater than 10,000 pounds at any time during the year. यहाँ पे loan balance never exceeds 10,000 at any point in time. So taxable benefit नहीं आएगा. What else? Does this remind you? अच्छा, I'll take you to a provision in close company. Huh? Let me take you to a provision in close company. ये देखो, no tax is payable when the loan fulfills all the 3 conditions. Amount of loan is less than or equal to 5,000. Individual is a full-time employee. Individual owns 5% of the shares or less. यहाँ पे this person does not own 5%. ना? This person owns more. ये 20% ओनर है, तो यहाँ पे दैट क्लोज कंपनी वाला रूल विल अप्लाई. सो दिस विल बी ट्रीटेड लाइक अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ प्रॉफिट. बेसिकली दिस विल बी ट्रीटेड लाइक अ डिविडेंड. ठीक है, और वो डिविडेंड पे फिर हायर रेट टैक्स पेयर है, तो उसके हिसाब से वील हैव टू लेवी टैक्स यूजिंग द अप्रोप्रिएट स्लैब रेट. ठीक है, let's write that down. Provision of loan by the company to Chris. ठीक है, company gave a loan to Chris of 9600. Since the amount outstanding does not exceed 10,000, the loan is not a taxable benefit in the hands of Chris. The company is a closed company and Chris holds 20% shares, which is more than 5%. ठीक है, Chris holds 20% shares. 20% is naturally more than 5%. So this loan, so there will be a levy of tax at the rate of 33.75% on the loan, since which amounts to how much, tell me? $9,600 into 33.75%. Tell me.
3240.
3240.
3240. ठीक है. And provision of the loan will result in no income tax liability for Chris, but company will have to pay income tax of 3240. And later on, when the loan is recovered or the loan is written off, for example, at that time the amount will be reclaimed from HMRC. ठीक है.
So Chris hold 10% share.
10% or 20%? Oh, Simon holds 20. ठीक है. Chris holds 10, but चलो ठीक है, at least you know, which is still more than 5%, which is to be paid by the company. No levy of tax on Chris. ठीक है, देख लो एक बार.
So that total taxable benefit, so 6300 और 4140 है. सर उसमें था ना कि एक एसेट, when the asset is gifted to the employed after private use, तो उसका कम हो जाता है. वो वाला कुछ प्रोविजन था ना.
हाँ है ना, यूज ऑफ असेट वाला.
हाँ तो सर इधर वो अप्लाई नहीं होगा क्या?
होगा ना, आप करके देखो. चलो, टेल द प्रोविजन. हाउ इज इट, हाउ इज द टैक्सेबल इनकम पार्ट कैलकुलेटेड, बताओ.
तो 4140 जो बेनिफिट हुआ है वो डिडक्ट हो जाएगा 6300 से.
नहीं, not from 6300, no. Your provision is on similar lines, not exactly the same. Where an employee had private use of the asset before it was given to him, the employee is taxed on the higher of market value when gifted. Market value of asset when the asset was first made available to the employee, less benefits already taxed on employee for private use. Do we have market value of the asset when it was first given to the employee? वो डेटा है अपने पास.
9600 नहीं, वो तो खरीद.
नहीं ठीक है, which is less than the list price, minus what is the amount of benefit that has been charged on him till date. उस पे कितने का benefit लगा है? We can write it here. value of taxable benefit is higher of market value when market value on the date of gift, or market value when first gifted minus benefit charged on the employee till date. Market value on date of gift is 6300. This is 9600 minus benefit charged on him till date. कितना होगा? 4140 है ना? ये हो जाएगा आपका 9600 market value when first given to employee for private use less benefit charged on the market value when first gifted minus 4140 benefit charged till date. तो आपका value is higher of the two, which is 6300. ठीक है?
Thank you, sir.
And is the loan part clear to everyone? Loan में किस पे कितना टैक्स आएगा?
Yes, sir.
Everyone. कोई भी क्वेश्चन होगा, let me know. Yes, Abhimanyu.
Sir, market value, like the list price of the car was 10,400. So shouldn't that be considered the market value?
No. Market value is the price at which that item is bought or sold in the market. And this item is sold in the market for 9600.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, last part, outline the circumstances in which personal service company rules apply. Explain with supporting calculations the tax implications for Florentine Limited of engaging Otmar Limited. Now, what you have to do is ये वाला पार्ट पढ़ो, हॉर्नर लिमिटेड से लेके यहाँ तक. Take 2 minutes and tell me circumstances in which the personal service company rules apply. ठीक है? And you remember the personal service company IR35 regulation. वो. And then supporting calculations, the tax implications for Florentine Limited of engaging Otmar Limited. ठीक है? देखो इसको एक बार, मतलब आप अपने नोटबुक में देखो, सॉरी अपने किट में देखो, यहाँ पे नेचुरली दैट स्क्रोलिंग एंड ऑल इज अ लिटिल डिफिकल्ट. ठीक है? टेक 2 minutes एंड ये करो, ओपन द फैमिली कंपनी वाला पार्ट एंड रीड अबाउट अ पर्सनल सर्विस कंपनी. वो पढ़ो, क्वेश्चन हम साथ में देखते हैं. यू रीड दैट पार्ट अबाउट पर्सनल सर्विस कंपनी, ओपन एंड रीड इट. टेक 2 minutes. पर्सनल सर्विस कंपनी पढ़ना है आपको. चलो, Horner owns all of the shares of Otmar Limited. Horner works for Otmar Limited, providing IT repair services to Florentine Limited. This provision of services is subject to personal trading company legislation. Florentine is classified as a medium or large-sized organization for the purpose of off-payroll working legislation. Figures for Otmar for the year ending 5th of April 2026 are set out below. All figures are VAT exclusive unless otherwise stated. Income, cost of material, Horner's annual salary, contributions paid into occupational pension scheme in respect of Horner. Now, when we did family companies exactly a week ago, we had discussed here personal service company में services to a small organization को कैसे treat करना है, right? And we had also discussed in that particular topic कि there was an entire format, if you remember, वहाँ पे एक full-fledged format था कि मतलब follow this format and you will get the amount of deemed salary. Now, we had not looked at situations where, you know, the other company was a medium or large organization. अपना जो भी discussion था उसमें it was till that particular point in time we had only discussed कि what if the other company is a small organization. Now वो ये जो personal service company वाला legislation है उसमें what happens if the other company is a small or is a large organization. Let's discuss that. ये relatively easy है as compared to the small organization वाला discussion. ठीक है. So I'm just putting it here as a new tab, family company, ठीक है, personal service company. Services provided via a PSC to a large organization. Where a medium or large organization engages with a PSC, it is the off-payroll working rules which apply. Responsibility of client to determine the status of the individual worker. The client will issue a status determination statement to the individual which sets out their determination. If a client determines that PSC rules should apply, then it is required to calculate and pay the income tax and NICs on the deemed direct payment. ठीक है, payment in respect of services provided minus direct cost of material incurred by PSC minus deductible employee expenses incurred by the PSC. This is your deemed direct payment. इस पे आपको amount calculate करना है of tax part. ठीक है, just one more thing. In order to avoid double taxation, DDP is deducted from payment made by the PSC to the worker, such as salary, before calculating income tax and NIC. ठीक है. Required to calculate and pay income tax and NIC on deemed direct payment. Deemed direct payment is payment in services of payment in respect of services. So for part C, ठीक है, part C में हम क्या बोलेंगे? That the company is a medium-sized company. ठीक है. So calculation of deemed direct payment. Payment in respect of services provided. Payment in respect of services provided minus direct cost of material incurred by PSC less deductible employee expense ठीक है. पेमेंट इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड कितना था 1,02,000. डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल इनकर्ड बाय पीएससी इतना सब्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे
3900.
3,900. डिडक्टेबल एम्प्लॉय एक्सपेंस पेड बाय पीएससी है कुछ
50,000 plus 2,000.
In order to avoid double taxation, the DDP is deducted from any payment made by the PSC to the worker, such as salary, before calculating income tax. See, these are employee expenses. This is not salary. Salary तो ये है ना अपना, ये salary नहीं है. These are employee related expenses. अच्छा, and by the way, one very important point. This is VAT inclusive है हाँ ये. Pay attention. This is VAT inclusive income and VAT rate is 20%. So 1,02,000 into 100 by 120. ये ऐसा क्यों है? When we'll go to VAT, I'll tell you कि ये ऐसा क्यों करना है. ठीक है. 85,000 minus material used to provide services. See, when we are deducting expenses, यहाँ पे these are employee expenses. Employee expenses मतलब to engage him, whatever you are paying, you know, other benefits like say कुछ, you know, canteen expenses and all of that, वो सब आता है यहाँ पर. Pension contribution and salary are not deducted here. So when calculating the deemed direct payment, cost of material used to carry out the services can be deducted. Expenses normally deductible against employment income can also be deducted. But person's salary and pension contributions are not deductible. Why? I'll tell you. ठीक है. इसका कितना आया? Deemed direct payment 81,100 आया, right? Deemed direct payment आया 81,100. Now, how much has the company paid him? कितना पे किया कंपनी ने? 50,000. So deemed direct payment is 81,100. Company paid him 50,000. So additional 31,100 is his deemed income. ठीक है. Company actually paid him 50,000 and his deemed income is 81,100. So 81,100 minus 50,000, 31,100 will be deemed employment income. ठीक है. So which is why you don't subtract, because आप इसको बाद में you are taking 81 as deemed direct payment, उसमें से आप salary subtract करो, तो बचा हुआ जो number है that is your deemed direct payment. ठीक है. That is your deemed employment income. This is deemed direct payment. तो उसमें से आप subtract करके फिर deemed income निकालेंगे. Total income उसका कितना है? 81,100, जिसमें से 50,000 उसको actually pay किया, तो जो बचा हुआ amount है that is your deemed income. ठीक है.
Yes, sir.
Are you with me? चलो.
सर इसमें NIC वगैरह का कोई मतलब डिडक्ट नहीं करना है?
इसमें नहीं. In large organizations they have specifically not done that. In the study text, real life में होता है. Study text में उन्होंने कहीं पे भी, even study hub में भी कहीं पे भी नहीं किया है.
सर मुझे दो डाउट था रिलेटेड टू पर्सन. सर स्मॉल कंपनी में सर आपने लिखा था कुछ एम्प्लॉयमेंट वाला 10,500 NIC वाला, वो एक लाइन मुझे समझ में नहीं आया था.
कहाँ पे लिखा था इस क्वेश्चन में?
नो सर पिछले वाले स्मॉल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वाला में
क्या लिखा था? 10,500. कौन सी शीट है बताओ?
सर वही वाला है सर, स्मॉल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फैमिली कंपनी का. उसमें
ओके, इसमें कहाँ है?
सर 1 सेकेंड सर। सर जहाँ पे नोशनल सैलरी लिखा हुआ है ना उसके नीचे।
कहाँ लिखा है? इधर?
सर्विस टू स्मॉल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, वो वाले शीट में जाइए सर। यस सर, सर्विस टू स्मॉल सर नीचे, हाँ ये सर। द 10,500 एम्प्लॉयमेंट अलाउंसेस कैन नॉट बी यूज टू ऑफसेट एम्प्लॉयर्स NIC। सर नीचे नीचे। यस सर, इधर।
Okay. So, in case of certain companies, na, if there is an annual NIC ka allowance, in the sense ki, if your total liability is say 10,000, say your total liability is 20,000, तो आपको पूरा का पूरा NIC नहीं पे करना है. You have to pay only 10,500 worth of NIC. मतलब you have to pay amount which is in excess of 10,500 worth of NIC. So in those companies, so company को जो class 1 NIC पे करना है, suppose its annual class 1 NIC value comes to 50,000, तो it gets an allowance of 10,500. तो उसको 50,000 minus 10,500, only 39,500 has to be used for, or other has to be paid to HMRC. पूरा amount पे नहीं करना है employment allowance का, ठीक है. बट दे आर सेइंग कि ये जो नोशनल सैलरी है उसके लिए यू कैन नॉट यूज दैट 10,500 का लिमिट.
ओके सर।
दिस इज व्हाट इट मींस.
सर इसमें पर्सनल सर्विस कंपनी में कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स भी पे होता है और पर्सनल इंडिविजुअल टैक्स भी पे होता है
यस,
हम लोग। ओके सर।
बट
सर
सी
लार्ज
दे कैन नॉट बी अनफेयर. अगर आपने डीम्ड, मतलब सी इफ यू आर ट्रीटिंग दिस अमाउंट एज डीम्ड इनकम फॉर द एम्प्लॉय, तो एम्प्लॉयर के केस में भी आपको उसका डिडक्शन क्लेम करना पड़ेगा ना. यू कांट से कि अरे एम्प्लॉयर को मैं सब्ट्रैक्ट भी नहीं करने दूंगा लेकिन एम्प्लॉय के इनकम में ऐड भी करूंगा. ऐसे डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स नहीं चलेगा.
यस सर। सर लार्ज में भी होता है ना सेम, स्मॉल वाला। ओके
एनी
ओके
केस
सर।
फॉर दैट मैटर. ठीक है,
यस सर।
चलो. Come back in 15 minutes and we'll start with the next question. Welcome back. चलो सर, अगला क्वेश्चन देखना है। इस क्वेश्चन में क्या था? इस क्वेश्चन में फैमिली कंपनी भी था, इस क्वेश्चन में सीसॉप भी था, इस कंपनी में प्रोविजन ऑफ कार भी था। बहुत कुछ अलग अलग चीजें थी इस क्वेश्चन में, ठीक है। और yesterday also, every question had some different element, है ना, कुछ तो अलग चल रहा था हर क्वेश्चन में। अभी we have to do this question called Damiana. This is the next one. It's 1:45. मैं यहीं बैठा हूँ, 5 मिनट लो, क्वेश्चन पढ़ो, then we have to do it together. Because once we get the technical parts right, then we have to grow and फिर ये समझना पड़ेगा कि प्रोफेशनल मार्क्स कैसे लेना है एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, राइट। तो उसके लिए पहले टेक्निकल बेस अपना एकदम स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए। सो प्लीज स्टार्ट। पढ़ लिया?
Yes.
चलो, let's solve the question together. Explain with supporting calculations the tax relief available for research and development expenditure incurred by Damiana PLC in the year ending 31 March 2027 and the amount of corporation tax which will be saved as a result of claiming this relief. Let's do one by one. You should assume that today's date is 1st of August 2026. Louisa, the finance director of Damiana PLC, requires advice on company's tax treatment of R&D expenditure. Damiana PLC is a UK resident quoted trading company. During the year ending 31 March 2027, Damiana PLC will incur qualifying R&D expenditure of 1,69,000. This amount includes 30,000 which will be paid to an external unconnected contractor. Damiana PLC will have taxable total profit before any deduction in respect of R&D expenditure of 16,75,000 in the year ending 31 March 2027. ठीक है. So अब इसको कैसे डील करना है? First of all, we'll have to calculate the qualifying R&D expenditure, है ना? So let's calculate that first. Part A. Qualifying R&D expenditure calculation. Expenditure excluding amount paid to external contractor. How much? Total is 169. It includes 30,000 paid to an unconnected contractor. Total 1,69,000 minus paid to contractor 30,000. कितना होगा?
139,000.
1,39,000. यहाँ पे मैं लिखूंगा एलिजिबल 100%. उसमें मैं ऐड करूंगा अमाउंट पेड टू add amount paid to unconnected contractor. This is 65% eligible. ये कैसा होगा? 30,000 into 65%. Only 65% eligible. $19,500. ठीक है. What is the total eligible amount? Total now, how do you get research and development expenditure credit? RDEC is given by calculate 20% of that. ठीक है. वो जो 20% of that है, of that amount, you have to add it to your total income. ठीक है. And so under the R&D expenditure जो भी 20% है, increase the trading profit by that number and same amount का आप tax credit लेंगे. ठीक है. So 20% of eligible expenditure. This into 20%, 31,700. Okay. So how to deal with research and development expenditure credit? Add 31,700 to taxable income. Reduce 31,700 from total टैक्स लाइबिलिटी। ठीक है, सो कैसे होगा? व्हाट इज योर इनकम बिफोर एनी डिडक्शन ऑफ R&D एक्सपेंडिचर? 16,75,000 है। ठीक है, तो इसको कैसे डील करेंगे?
सर पहले 1675,000 को माइनस करेंगे 158,500, देन ऐड 31700।
ठीक है, कैलकुलेशन ऑफ टैक्स लाइबिलिटी। प्रॉफिट बिफोर डिडक्टिंग R&D एक्सपेंस, प्रॉफिट बिफोर डिडक्टिंग R&D expense 1675,000, 1675,000 less R&D expenditure। ये आपका रेगुलर डिडक्शन है ना? आप रेगुलर तो सब्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे ही इसको। टोटल अमाउंट ऑफ 1,69,000 वो तो माइनस होगा ही। उसके बाद आएगा आपका 1506। ठीक है, प्रॉफिट आफ्टर डिडक्टिंग R&D expense, add RDEC 20%, कितना है 20%, add 31,700। ठीक है, सो अभी आएगा मेरा taxable income, this plus 31,700, this is very clearly above the upper limit, so 25% tax लगेगा, this into 25%। ठीक है, less RDEC 20% क्रेडिट होगा, सो 31,700। सो मेरा कितना आएगा टैक्स पेएबल? टैक्स पेएबल होगा, सॉरी, दिस प्लस 31,700, 352,725 है ना? आर यू विथ मी?
यस सर।
जस्ट वन पॉइंट। ठीक है, इंस्टेड ऑफ सब्ट्रैक्टिंग 169, ठीक है, 169 सब्ट्रैक्ट मत करो, सब्ट्रैक्ट 169 माइनस 31,700। ठीक है, सो amount to be deducted as a regular expense deduction कैसा होगा? 1,69,000 minus RDEC claimed 31,700। ठीक है, सो ऐसे मिलेगा आपको 137,300 and you will get your tax payable। तो बेनिफिट क्या हो रहा है देखो। ठीक है, we are deducting an expense of 137,300 from taxable income, so tax saving is 137,300 into 25%। कितना आता है बताओ?
34325।
34325 and tax liability is getting reduced by 31,700। so total tax benefit कितना होगा? बताइए।
66025।
66025। so on one hand, see, when you deduct any expense, it leads to tax saving, so you are deducting 137,300 here, plus there is tax saving of 31,700, so total tax benefit है 66,025। are you with me?
सर सॉरी सर, ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आया सर, 137,300 क्यों हो रहा है 169 की जगह पर? सर एक बार फिर से एक्सप्लेन।
Actual deduction is total expense incurred is 1,69,000, right? This is my total expense incurred, but 31,700 का मैं अलग से यहाँ पे 20% ऐड करने वाला हूँ, and then I'm going to claim the benefit of 31,700 later as an RDEC credit, right? So for that reason, आप 31,700 that amount which is going to be added back, उसको छोड़ के जो अमाउंट बचा है आप सिर्फ उसी का डिडक्शन लो। यहाँ पे इन द आरडीईसी रूल ऑल्सो जो आप बेनिफिट क्लेम करेंगे वो कितने का बेनिफिट होगा? जो बेनिफिट आप क्लेम करेंगे, देखो इन अ वे ultimately what is happening is one amount is getting added, sorry, one amount is getting subtracted and then another amount is getting added. So there are two ways of representing this. What are the two ways? Method 1, calculation of tax liability. Method 1, let's do it this way. Okay. So, excuse me. This is method 1. आप यहाँ पे 1,69,000 minus 31,700 करो, ठीक है? Why 31,700? Because that is RDEC credit. या फिर आप इसको इस तरीके से करो, calculation of tax liability method 2. यहाँ पे आप full 1,69,000 माइनस करो, यहाँ पे आप 31,700 ऐड करो, तो नेट कितना हुआ? इन दोनों का टोटल लो, कितना हुआ नेट अमाउंट? 137,300 हुआ, राइट?
Yes, sir.
So deduct 1,69,000, then add 31,700. Net effect, deduct 137,300. So either वो करो या ये करो, whichever approach you take. So यहाँ पे then यहाँ पे you do nothing. Let this be 0. Make
Yes,
sense?
sir.
अभी दो अलग अलग दिखा है तो समझ में आ रहा है?
So can you scroll up for a bit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone have a look at both the methods so you can appreciate the difference between the two.
सर R&D एक्सपेंडिचर जो क्वालिफाइंग R&D होता है सिर्फ उसमें नहीं होता ना, पूरा ओवरऑल सब मिलाकर ही डिडक्ट होता है, राइट?
Yeah. ठीक है? Now, identify the accounting periods for which corporate tax returns were required from Damiana PLC in respect of the 18-month period ended 31 March 25. State the due dates for filing the return in each case and the implications for Damiana PLC in respect of their late filing. Now, Damiana PLC prepared accounts for 18-month period ended 31st of March 2025. The corporate tax returns for this period were filed on 15th of July 2026. All previous corporate tax returns have been filed on time. So they have asked you what are the two accounting periods. Now, if you remember, where the accounting period is longer than 12 months, it is always split as 12 plus something, correct? So the two accounting periods will be first 12 months and then the remaining 6 months. Part B. Whenever period of account is more than 12 months, it is always split as 12 months plus remaining months. ठीक है? So यहाँ पे my period of account is an 18-month period ending on 31 March कितना? 25. Go back 18 months. क्या डेट होगा? 1st of October 23. ठीक है? So 1st accounting period is 1st of October 23 to 30th September 24, and second accounting period is 1st of October 24 to 31 March 25. Okay. And second part of the question is they have asked you for the due dates. अभी अपना due dates वाला discussion complete नहीं हुआ है. I have the notes ready. I'm just yet to share those with you. Let me show you. एक second रुको. Anyway, the discussion on due dates is yet to be done. छोटा सा एक 30 minutes का discussion है where I will, or either I have basically discussed all the different activities और उन सबका due date एक ही sheet में, all of that has been covered, so you will get that. So अभी के लिए leave this particular part of the question. ठीक है, this is the sheet that I am talking about. 7 page का sheet है. Let me show it to you. मोस्टली तो ये लर्न करने का है, इसमें कुछ भी ऐसा समझने का नहीं है. सो फाइलिंग डेडलाइंस, रेगुलर रिटर्न का कितना है, एनुअल रिटर्न का कितना है, देन व्हाट आर द कंटेंट्स ऑफ द रिटर्न, व्हाट आर द बेसिकली फर्स्ट मतलब ड्यू डेट्स का ही पूरा डिस्कशन है इसमें. सो दिस इज एज यू कैन सी अ 7 page शीट. आई विल शेयर दिस एज अ सेपरेट रिकॉर्डिंग. ठीक है, आने वाले वीक. एक सेकंड. So that part we'll have to do separately. So let's move on from this to the third part, which is explain the IT implications for Louisa if she acquires 5,000 ordinary shares in Damiana by means of transfer on 1st of November 26 or as a result of exercising share options on 2nd November 29, on the assumption that she sells the shares as planned on 10th of November 29. Calculate Louisa's net increase in wealth under each alternative. Okay. Louisa is employed as the finance director of Damiana, earning a gross annual salary of 1,65,000. She has no other source of taxable income. She has been offered 2 alternative ways to acquire ordinary shares in Damiana PLC. In either case, she will sell these shares on 10th of November 29 when their market value is expected to be 32.7 per share. She uses her annual exempt amount for capital gains tax purposes each year. Damiana PLC will transfer 5,000 ordinary shares, which is a 1% holding to Louisa on 1st of November 2026, for which Louisa will pay £1 per share. Okay. The market value of these shares on 1st of December 26 is expected to be 24.5 per share. Damiana does not expect to pay a dividend in the foreseeable future. ठीक है, सबसे पहले let's look एक एक alternative को let's try to analyze. ठीक है, she is an employee of Damiana. She will be first of all, the market price of the share is 24.5. She purchased the share for $1, है ना? Sorry, $1 नहीं, £1. So the difference between that is going to be her taxable benefit, right? So let's calculate the amount of taxable benefit for her, and then on that we'll have to calculate the tax liability. ठीक है. Part C. Acquisition of shares. Shares which have a market value of 24.50 per share were acquired by Louisa at 1 per share, है ना? Were acquired by Louisa at 1 per share. So there will be a taxable benefit worth 5,000 into 24.5 minus 1. Tell me how much it is. बताइए.
117500.
Taxable benefit of this. Is she a basic rate taxpayer? क्या है वो? 1,65,000 है. She is an additional rate taxpayer. She is an additional rate taxpayer. So tax liability of Louisa will increase by 117,500 into 45%. कितना होगा?
Five to eight.
875. These are shares in a quoted company, so they are readily convertible into cash. Since they are readily convertible into cash, there will be class 1 NIC contribution. Correct? These are shares in a listed company. That means readily convertible to cash. Okay. So class 1 NIC liability will apply. And class 1 NIC will be 117,500 into 2%. कितना होगा?
2350.
50. Okay. Now on the sale of these shares, there will be a chargeable gain.
Yes, sir.
Chargeable gain on disposal of shares. 5,000 into 32.7 minus 24.5. कितना होगा बताओ?
41,000.
41,000. Now one small correction, which in a way makes life easier for you in the CGT discussion, is that I had told you CGT के दो rates है, but now there are no two rates of CGT. There is just one rate of CGT. CGT is always levied at 24%, unless of course there is a relief which can reduce the rate of CGT applicable. ठीक है, तो आप सारे calculations में वो 10% 20% वाला चीज is not relevant. You straight away apply CGT at the rate of 24%. तो यहाँ पे CGT कितना होगा? It will be 41,000 into 24%. How much is it? 9840. Now we have to calculate her increase in wealth, है ना? क्या पूछा है आपको क्वेश्चन में? क्वेश्चन में आपको पूछा है what is the increase in wealth for her? So Louisa's increase in wealth कैसे होगा? Proceeds from sale of shares, because she will sell the shares, right? At what value? She will sell the share at 32.7 per share. So 5,000 shares into 32.70 per share. 1,63,500 less cost of shares. She purchased each share for 1. 5,000 shares into 1 per share. This is the cost that So uska, that is the amount that she paid to acquire the shares. Then she paid income tax, she paid NIC, she paid capital gains. Less income tax paid, less NIC paid, less CGT paid. कितना आएगा income tax? 52,875. Then income tax, sorry, NIC 2350, CGT 9840. $93,435. ठीक है, एक बार देखो, everyone have a look at all the calculations.
सर ये खाली ईएमआई शेयर्स में ही हम लोग का नॉन टैक्स एडवांटेज है, राइट? और तो कोई शेयर में नहीं है?
नहीं, ऐसा क्यों? मतलब मैं
सर
आपका
बाकी
क्वेश्चन नहीं समझा।
सर जो नॉन टैक्स एडवांटेजेस है उसमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट इनकम में ऐड हो जाता है ना, जो डिफरेंस होता है मार्केट वैल्यू और ये, तो ये खाली ईएमआई शेयर्स में ही तो है ना, और तो क्या?
नॉन टैक्स नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये कोई भी टैक्स एडवांटेज स्कीम में वैसे ही होगा।
ओके सर।
हाँ, बट यहाँ पे कोई शेयर इंसेंटिव स्कीम है नहीं ना, दिस इज जस्ट एक्विजिशन ऑफ शेयर्स एट अ लोअर प्राइस, है ना। ऑप्शंस नहीं है यहाँ पे, शेयर ऑप्शन नहीं दिया है उसको, दिस इज जस्ट प्लेन एक्विजिशन ऑफ शेयर्स।
ओके
यहाँ पे
सर।
कोई सीसॉप, ईएमआई, एसएवाई स्कीम ऐसा कुछ थोड़ी था ना। यहाँ पे क्या था, शी सिंपली अक्वायर्ड द शेयर्स फ्रॉम द कंपनी एट अ लोअर प्राइस। कोई शेयर इंसेंटिव स्कीम थोड़ी चल रहा था यहाँ पे। डिड वी
सर
चेक
इधर
फुलफिलमेंट ऑफ एनी कंडीशन?
अल्टरनेटिव 2 है।
नहीं, मैं तो अभी 1 की बात कर रहा हूँ ना, 2 में हम गए कहाँ हैं?
नहीं नहीं सर, थोड़ा कंफ्यूज हो गया था।
अभी तो हम अल्टरनेटिव 1 में ही है ना, वी हैवंट इवन गॉन टू अल्टरनेटिव 2।
यस सर, यस सर।
ठीक है ना। Damiana PLC will grant options over 5,000 ordinary shares to Louisa on 1st of November 26 under its newly established Enterprise Management Incentive Scheme. The exercise price of these options will be 23 per share. Louisa will exercise the options on 2nd of November 2029. ठीक है, exercise price of these options is 23 per share. We have to check whether she is eligible under this scheme. EMI के जो advantages है, then she will get that. The value of the shares is how much? 5,000 shares into market value is 24.5. तो total कितना हो रहा है?
122,500.
Okay, let me open the EMI ka, you know what, let me copy paste that here like I did in the previous one. ठीक है, there is no limit to the number of employees who may benefit. ठीक है, qualifying companies, okay, employee must work, fine. The company must be a qualifying trading company. The company's gross assets must not exceed 30 million. Company के बारे में we don't have that kind of information here. The company must be a qualifying trading company वाला clause भी अपने को check करने के लिए data नहीं है. An employee may not be granted options over shares worth more than 2,50,000 at the time of grant. Option 2, EMI scheme. ठीक है. What is the value of options granted? 5,000 options into 24.50 market value per share. 5,000 into 24.5, 122,500 less than 2,50,000. ठीक है, ये condition fulfill हो गया. They must be capable of being exercised within 10 years of the grant and may be granted at a discount or at a premium. When are they exercisable? She will exercise the options on 2nd of November 2029. Options were granted on 1st of November 2026. Options are exercisable within 10 years. ठीक है. There is no income tax or NIC on grant. No income tax or NIC is charged on the exercise of the option if the option price at the time of grant was at least equal to the market value. ठीक है. If the exercise price was at a discount, the charge is based on the difference between market value of the grant and any exercise price. यहाँ पे exercise price is 23, market value is 24.5. ठीक है. So since market value is greater than exercise price, there will be IT charge on exercise of the option. ठीक है. So amount subjected to IT. 5,000 into 24.5 minus 23. कितना होगा? 5,000 into 1.5. 7,500. ठीक है. इस पे फिर आपका whatever is the applicable rate that will apply. ठीक है. So she is a higher rate taxpayer. Higher rate taxpayer. So income tax at 45% and NIC at the rate of 2%. This into 45%. This into 2%. With me so far?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. And so ये तो हो गया at the time of exercise. At the time of disposal क्या होगा? At the time of disposal there will be a chargeable gain. Correct. कैसे होगा chargeable gain? Chargeable gain will be disposal proceeds minus market value on the exercise rate. Correct. So वो part actually आपका same ही होगा. CGT 98403375 correct. So वो part नहीं बदलता है actually, that part remains the same, and then we'll have to calculate the increase in her wealth. But first of all, before we do that, are you okay with this calculation of 3375, this calculation of 150, this calculation of 9840? You have to let me know कि ये तीनों numbers के साथ are you comfortable, are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Megha, any confusion?
No, sir. Okay.
Louisa's increase in wealth proceeds from sale of shares. From that, cost of options. 5,000 into 23, 1,15,000. Less income tax paid, 3,375. NIC paid 150. CGT paid 9,840. So मैडम का इंक्रीज इन वेल्थ होगा ये 35, 135. But one very important point, यहाँ पे 24% तक ठीक था. But tell me, for how many years did she hold on to the shares before selling them off? Alternative 2 में she acquired the options, मतलब she acquired the shares by exercising the options on 2nd November 2029. ठीक है. And when did she sell the shares? She sold the shares on 10th of November 2029. So she sold it within 8 to 9 days. Now, technically, for EMI, so technically, if you want to apply BADR, na, BADR में 2 years का holding है, ठीक है. But what they have mentioned is कि BADR के case में the 2-year का holding can be calculated as the period for which you held on to the options and the period for which you held on to the shares. She was granted the option in November 26. She exercised the option in November 29. So more than 2 years have gone by. Okay. So which is why BADR will be applicable. And in case of EMI shares, you are not expected to have more than 5% holding. Okay. So special provisions in case of EMI shares. No need to hold more than 5% shares to become eligible for BADR. And so qualifying period of ownership for BADR is 2 years. But in this situation, but in case of EMI shares, the period for which the holding period is calculated as, I should say, holding period is calculated as period of holding options plus period of holding shares, which exceeds 2 years in this case. कैसे होगा? 1st of November 26 to 10th of November 29. So BADR applicable, CGT taxed at 14%. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे 24% नहीं होगा, 14% होगा. ठीक है. So कितना होगा टैक्स? 5,740. ठीक है. 39 to 35. This is the increase in Louisa's wealth. ठीक है. This EMI shares वाला point was different, which is why doing this question was important. दोनों चीजें 5% का जरूरत भी नहीं है. And how do you calculate the 2-year holding period? This is different in case of EMI shares, which is why we had to do this question.
सब वो अल्टरनेटिव 1 में BADR अप्लाई नहीं हुआ क्योंकि 1% होल्डिंग था, राइट?
हाँ, और वो उस केस में EMI शेयर्स नहीं थे ना.
हाँ हाँ, यस सर.
तो चलो 5% होल्डिंग तो सब केसेस में चाहिए एक्सेप्ट फॉर EMI शेयर्स।
सर एक क्वेश्चन था सब, कल वाला जो हम लोग क्वेश्चन किया था ना थॉमस वाला सर, उसमें EIS शेयर भी था और BADR वाला भी कॉन्सेप्ट था। तो EIS शेयर के लिए उसमें द इन्वेस्टर मस्ट नॉट बी एन एम्प्लॉय, राइट? बट BADR के केस में तो एम्प्लॉय होना जरूरी है।
या
तो वो EIS शेयर में उसमें फिर कैसे 14% हुआ?
देखते हैं, we'll go back to that question। पहले आप ये देख लो। ठीक है,
यस सर।
अदर्स ध्यान है आपका?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now one more question that we are doing is a question called Demeter। ठीक है, I have given the name, it's 2:34। I'm giving you 6 minutes to read the question, read it properly, then we'll do it together। ठीक है, please start।
यस सर।
देखा क्वेश्चन?
Yes, sir.
चलो, let's read it together. Explain the extent to which the receipt of 20,000 lump sum inducement payment and the relocation package in relation to Demeter's move to London will give rise to taxable employment income for him. Now, you should assume that today's date is 1 Jan 2027. Demeter has recently taken up a new employment and is seeking advice on the income tax treatment of certain components of his remuneration package, the relief available to reduce the chargeable gain on the sale of his house, the tax consequences of participating in his employer's occupational pension scheme, and tax implications of participating in a non-tax advantaged share option scheme. Demeter has always been UK resident. He commenced employment with Poseidon Limited on 1 December 2026. Will have no source of income other than from Poseidon Limited in all relevant future tax years. Has relocated to London from Manchester, a city around 200 miles north of London, to take up his employment. Demeter will receive an annual salary of 1,30,000. Poseidon offered to make a lump sum payment of 20,000 to Demeter as an inducement to take up employment with the company. Poseidon Limited paid 5,000 towards his cost of relocating to London. The company is also paying him 1,500 each month for 4 months from 1st of December 2026 towards renting accommodation in London until he purchases a new house on 1st of April 2027. On 1st of December 2026, Demeter was granted share options in Poseidon Limited's non-tax advantage share option scheme. From 6th of April, Demeter will participate in Poseidon's occupational pension scheme. Demeter incurred cost in relation to his relocation to London of 6,000. This amount includes estate agent fees of 2,800 in connection with the sale of his house in Manchester on 31st of October 2026. Demeter signed a 4-month lease for a flat in London from 1st of December 2026 at a monthly rental of 1,700. Now we have to talk about the 20,000 one-time lump sum payment and the relocation cost. Okay. Now, that one-off lump sum payment paid on commencement of employment, see, it's like a joining bonus that was paid. The joining bonus is fully taxable. The amount received by Demeter in relation to his relocation, kitna mila usko? He got 5,000.
Total 11,000.
Total 11,000. Why? Because when he moved, he was staying in a new flat, right? Why was he staying in a new flat? Because in that city, he did not have a house. So his employer was paying him 1,500 per month for rent of that particular property. Otherwise, he would have to travel and all of that. So the total amount is 5,000 plus 6,000, that is 11,000. But relocation ke hisab se, what is the maximum benefit that you can get? 8,000 is exempt. Uske aage the amount is taxable. Demeter's qualifying expenditure comprises all the cost, है ना? और आपका estate agent का fees भी आएगा, right? है ना? Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Estate agent's fees will be included. Then anything else that will be included?
1,700 lease one.
Now, estate agent's fees, what are they in relation to? Are they in relation to relocation or are they in relation to sale of the house? किसके लिए है estate agent का fees? हाँ तो बोल दिया आपने.
Sale of the house.
Sale of the house in Manchester ना 2800. तो ये कहाँ पे जाएगा? Will 2800 be included? What do you think?
Sir, due to relocation ही तो 2800 पे हुआ है ना?
Correct. total amount is 5,000 towards his cost of relocation. Demeter incurred cost in relation to his relocation to London of 6,000. This amount includes estate agent fees of 2,800 in connection with the sale of his house in London, a sale of his house in Manchester. Demeter signed a 4-month lease for a flat in London from 1st of December 2026 at a monthly rental of 1,700. Okay. So London maybe he was staying and he was paying a monthly rental of 1,700. His employer is giving him 1,500 each month for 4 months, right? Anna? Okay. So let's talk about part A. कितना है? So what is the amount received from the employer? Let's make a note of that, and let's make a note of the qualifying expenditure. Okay. Amount received from employer in relation to relocation. Okay. 5,000 lump sum plus 1,500 per month for 4 months rent towards rent है. कितना हो जाएगा? 5,000 plus 6,000, that is 11,000. Now amount of qualifying expenditure with respect to relocation. कितना होगा qualifying expenditure with respect to relocation?
8,000.
6,000 actual cost incurred plus 1,700 per month into 4 months. Actual rent paid, this will be 12,800. ठीक है? यहाँ पे we have to specifically mention that the estate agent fees are included in 6,000. 6,000 includes 2,800 for estate agent fees. Had he not relocated to London, he would have to pay. Had he not relocated to London, he would not have sold the house and would not have paid the estate agent fees. ठीक है? So this cost of 2,800 should also be should not be excluded. Let's put it this way. Okay. Now you received 11,000 and your amount incurred is 12,800. So what is the amount that you will consider? You will only consider the amount received. Now actual expense zyada hoga, but you will consider amount received, and relocation expenses are exempt up to 8,000 pounds. Okay. So taxable amount is 11,000 minus 8,000, that is 3,000 pounds. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Acha, and lump sum payment of 20,000 fully taxable. Lump sum payment of 20,000 received by Demeter is fully taxable. Now, Identify and calculate with brief calculations the relief available to Demeter to reduce the chargeable gain of 94,000 on the sale of his house in Manchester on 31 October 2006. Demeter purchased the house on 1 May 13 and lived in it as his main residence. Demeter let the top floor of the house, comprising 30% of the total house, to tenants from 1st of May 2015 to 31st of October 2016. The tenants did not share Demeter's living accommodation or take meals with him. Demeter continued to occupy the remainder of the house as his main residence until 31st of October 2026, until the entire house was sold. The sale gave rise to a gain before any relief of 94,000. Demeter did not own any other house throughout the period from 1st May 13 to 31 October 16. यहाँ पे आपको very clearly PRR and LR का question है ना, right? This is
Yes,
the
sir.
question of private residence relief and letting relief. ठीक है. So for PRR, part B, eligibility for private residence relief. ठीक है. Let's write down the periods. उसके बाद let's write down exempt months. कहाँ से शुरू होगा? 1 May 13 से लेके 1 May 2015 तक he lived there himself, है ना? 1 May 2013 to 1st of May 2015. Remarks. Fully occupied. Exempt months 24. फिर क्या हुआ? Sorry. First May 15 to 31st of October 16. क्या होगा इसका? What was his occupation? मतलब did he live there himself or he gave 30% to tenants, है ना? So उसका occupation will be 70%. 70% occupation. ठीक है. So total कितना months होगा ये? Calculate the number of months.
138 months.
May 15 से लेके April 16, April 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. April 26 तक 132 months. May, June, July, August, September, October 138. 138 into 70%. But last 9 months are always deemed to be exempt, right? So last 9 months मतलब 1st of Feb 2026 to 31 October 2026. ये कितना महीना होगा? 9 months deemed occupied. 9. तो ये कितना हो जाएगा? 138 minus 9 हो जाएगा 129 and 129 into 70% हो जाएगा 90 months. ठीक है.
सर इट्स बेटर कि हम लोग पहले वो 9 months वाला एग्जाम्प्ट कर दे, राइट?
हाँ,
तब जाके
एक्सक्लूड ही करना पड़ेगा, है ना?
yes,
सो फर्स्ट में से लेके सिंस 30% इज occupied by tenants, we consider 70% here. ठीक है 123. सो पीआरआर कैसे होगा? $129 plus 24 plus 9, 162 total months. Private residence relief amount of gain कितना है gain? 94,000. 94,000 gain into 123 upon 162. $71,544. ठीक है, अब आएगा आपका लेटिंग रिलीफ. लेटिंग रिलीफ इज द लोवेस्ट ऑफ 40,000. तीन चीजों का लोवेस्ट है, राइट? बताइए मुझे द थ्री आइटम्स. अमाउंट ऑफ गेन एग्जेम्प्ट अंडर पीआरआर.
सर मेरा 71,370 आ रहा है पीआरआर रिलीफ. सर एक बार थोड़ा चेक कीजिए.
मैं क्यों चेक करूं? आप चेक करो.
पता नहीं सर, मेरा
आपका नंबर गलत होगा या मेरा नंबर गलत होगा? ओके, आई नो व्हाई आवर आंसर्स आर डिफरेंट. हो गया अभी मैच? मैंने
हाँ
वो
यस सर.
decimal रखा था ना, उसके वजह से 90 पॉइंट समथिंग था, उसके वजह से था.
ओके ओके सर.
ठीक है, अमाउंट ऑफ गेन एग्जेम्प्ट अंडर पीआरआर. गेन attributed to letting and amount of 40,000. Gain exempt under PRR 71,370. यहाँ पे है 40,000. What is gain attributed to letting? कैसे निकलेगा ये? मैंने फॉर्मूला लिख के दिया था ना, डू यू रिमेम्बर? दिस इज टोटल अमाउंट ऑफ गेन इनटू लेटिंग वाले मंथ्स अपॉन 160.
162.
94,000 into 39 upon 162. So letting relief होगा 22,630. Private residence relief है 71,370. So taxable gain will be 94,000 minus 71,370 minus 22,630. तो जो भी अमाउंट आएगा that will be taxable. ठीक है, have a look.
सर नो कैपिटल गेन, मतलब कोई भी चार्जेबल गेन नहीं है इसमें.
Nothing will be chargeable. Okay. Consequences for Demeter of participating in Poseidon's occupational pension scheme in 27-28. Demeter has made tax allowable contributions of 60,000 to a personal pension plan for the last 5 tax years and will continue to do so in future. From 27-28, Poseidon will contribute an amount equal to 10% of Demeter's annual salary to his occupational pension scheme. Demeter will not make any contribution to occupational pension scheme. क्या होगा इसका impact?
सर एडिशनल टैक्स.
Demeter right now is contributing 60,000, correct? But what is the annual allowance? 60,000. है ना? Annual
Yes.
allowance is 60,000. So do you think there will be a charge here? Annual charge will be
Yes.
payable. कैसे होगा? It will be taxed as the highest bracket, right? The amount of excess contribution will be taxed in the highest bracket for this taxpayer. So whatever is the difference between the two, 73,000 minus 60,000, जो भी difference आता है उस पे 40% का tax charge लगेगा, right? Yes or no?
Yes sir. Yes sir.
And
5200.
do you have any unused annual allowance in the past? कुछ है unused AA?
No sir, 60,000 तो हो रहा है ना.
He's been contributing for the last 5 years and 60, मतलब if he has been contributing 60, तो current year में AA is 60, last year में AA is 60, उसके पहले AA was 40, तो technically there is nothing that is unused in the annual allowance का calculation, तो कोई brought forward allowance adjustment is not possible. ठीक है. अब will there be a reduction of AA in his case? Reduction of AA के लिए we need to calculate threshold income, है ना? So वो
Yes,
एक चेक करना पड़ेगा आपको, but यहाँ पे it is not exceeding. ठीक है. So अच्छा, one more thing, gross personal pension contribution से his tax brackets will increase, हाँ, मतलब tax brackets will increase because of the personal pension contribution. अगर आपको याद होगा तो extension of bands is something that we have seen. ठीक है. Have a look.
yes sir.
Is everyone with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So ये भी हो गया. अभी क्या बचा? अभी बचा Poseidon's non-tax advantage share option scheme in respect of grant of options and exercise of options. See, this is a non-tax advantaged share option scheme. So on grant of option, employment income will be market value on grant of option minus cost of shares minus cost of option. And capital gain on disposal will be sale proceeds minus market value on date of grant of option. ठीक, उतना अभी आप कर सकते हो, फिर भी देख लो एक बार.
सर ग्रांट पे थोड़ी होगा, एक्सरसाइज पे होगा ना.
हाँ सॉरी, एक्सरसाइज पे. ग्रांट पे नो टैक्स, एक्सरसाइज पे होगा.
So cost of option will be 4.2 minus 5%, right? Okay sir.
ठीक है. कूल. चलो अब by tomorrow or day after I'll give you the video on due dates for individuals and companies, and by Thursday I'll give you all the recordings for VAT and incorporation relief और वो जो एक दो छोटे छोटे टॉपिक्स बचा है ना वो. ठीक है. And in this week we have 2 sessions. Let me just check my personal calendar. आज 10th है ना. We have 1 session tomorrow, 1 on 12th, 1 on 14th. ठीक है. एक एक क्वेश्चन ही उठाएंगे. But if I were to now look at the exam kit, let's have a quick analysis of क्या क्या हो चुका है exam kit में का. वी हैव डन मैथली, डैमियाना, डीमीटर। 6 में से 3 हो गए एम्प्लॉयमेंट इनकम। यहाँ पे थॉमस एंड इनेस हो गया, रॉड हो गया, रॉड नहीं हुआ था ना कि हुआ था?
सर हो गया था सर,
हाँ।
उसमें कुछ एक पार्ट बचा था।
हाँ, रीसा हो गया, रीसा हुआ कल।
यस सर।
हाँ सर।
एंड यहाँ सो अनइनकॉर्पोरेटेड बिजनेस 5 में से 3 हो गए, कैपिटल टैक्सेस 8 में से 4 हो गए। ठीक है, सो इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन ना, ठीक है, मैं एक बार चेक करता हूँ। आई डोंट वांट टू गिव यू अ क्वेश्चन विदाउट चेकिंग कि यार नहीं तो उसी में कुछ ऐसा टॉपिक होगा जो हमने नहीं किया, ड्यू डेट वगैरह। सो लेट मी चेक द क्वेश्चन इन ऑल एस्पेक्ट एंड देन आई विल टेल यू। टुमारो 1, ट्यूसडे 1, थर्सडे 1, 1 1 1 करके हम विल बी एट 13। लेट मी सी इफ आई कैन गिव यू 2 more recordings, सो ओवरऑल 15 क्वेश्चंस हो जाएगा आपका। ठीक है, चलो, थैंक यू।
सर एक्सेल शीट थोड़ा सा अपलोड कर दीजिए आज और कल का।
या
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, sir. Bye.